university because we're close, and they could come up on the train or in cars and come to my house into an environment where they could have fun, be safe. They always left the house cleaner than when they came, and then they go back to RMC. But all of those young men and women have now graduated and are now being posted around the world. So thank you for what you're doing. And I'm a little bit awestruck. When I walked in the room tonight, I didn't realize that I've known people in this room for a very long time. Some of you have actually had a part in the development of my life, whether it was through scouting or through Kinsman, through Rotary, through business. Those organizations and my coaches and teachers are really what got me here today, and I do want to say thank you to Keith and Otto and Gord for what they do. And I want to talk about Oshawa. 4 years ago, when the election happened for the first time, it was the argument of the 407. And if you remember that the Premier had talked about, or at that time Minister Wynne had talked about stopping the 407 at Simcoe Street in Oshawa, which made absolutely no sense. And Council of the day decided to come together and did a resolution and went from municipality to municipality talking about the importance of the 407 as a ring road around the city of Toronto. And Toronto being the only major city in North America that didn't have a bypass. And through a lot of protests, a lot of organization from St. Catharines to Cobourg and throughout Ontario, the Minister of the Day changed her mind and announced that the 407 was going to go to the 115. And I'm really proud to say that as of December this year, the 407 is going to open up in Oshawa at Harmony Road. And that they announced the continuance of the 407 to the 115, and those tenders have been let. So the ring road around the city of Toronto will happen, so that an alternative to what happened 2 weeks ago on the 401, where the entire economy of Eastern Ontario was stopped because of a tragic accident, should never happen again. And I'm really excited today when you drive around the city that you see tower cranes up. There's 6 of them up right now. Each one of those tower cranes is a private sector project, not one government-funded project. And that's really exciting. If you look at the Oshawa Shopping Centre and the $270 million reinvestment by Ivanhoe Cambridge, because their demographic study said that the Oshawa Shopping Centre was a place to invest, was a great idea. And now you can see when you drive by, and I apologize, this year it might have been a little chaotic at Christmas, but the underground parking is open. And it'll be that close to being finished, and they hope to finish early in 2016. But more importantly, it's not just development there. If you were to go down on Farewell Avenue, down by the harbor, you'll see a new steel fabrication plant under construction. Triad Metals is building a 165,000 square foot steel plant next to the harbor, where I'm proud to announce that the rail is finished. And that starting this year, trains will run into the port to pick product that's being brought in by ship or being shipped out by ship, whether it's agricultural product or steel. And if you just go up Simcoe Street a little bit farther, you'll find that there's a new hotel being built in downtown Oshawa, which is an amazing story. That Holiday Inn Express decided that downtown Oshawa was the place to be. And the reason it's the place to be is because last February, a year ago today, there was 15 major events in downtown Oshawa. Now you remember probably Elton John was in town last February, but so was Florida Georgia Line, Reba, a number of other groups, and some great hockey. And downtown Oshawa, for 15 nights in February of 2014, had between 3,000 and 7,000 people in our downtown. And as you go up north a little bit further on Simcoe Street, you're going to come to the corner of Adelaide and Simcoe Street, where you'll find a new 14-story apartment building being built to support seniors. And what's really exciting about this building is on the main floor of the building there'll be supportive services. So you can move into a building, and if you need assistance, you go down to the lower level. There'll be a small grocery store, a hair salon. There'll be supportive services there to help you. And as you continue north up Simcoe Street, you'll find where the old pumpkin was, that there's a new apartment building being built. 495 units of purpose-built housing to support the students that are now going to UOIT and Durham College. But what's really exciting is we have 4 universities in Oshawa. So there's UOIT in Trent, there's Queen's that has a campus in the middle of our hospital called the Learn Center, and the University of Windsor is now partnered with Trent to bring their programs there. And of course we've got Durham College, who is still continuing to turn tradesmen out. And you can go to almost any major construction project in Canada now and find a Durham College alumni in one form of a trader now working on those sites. I'm really excited to say that finally downtown, that big vacant field beside the courthouse is under development now. They put a construction trailer there earlier. That was sold, and you'll see a construction trailer there, and that project should start very, very shortly. So you can see that there's a lot of really good development going on around the city, and it's driving an economy that's different than it was 5 years ago. Now, Oshawa makes a lot of great cars, but we've got an economy now based on students, healthcare, and transportation. Very much diverse today than it was a few years ago. And when you have 20,000 young people going to school in your community, living that great Canadian dream about an unbelievable education, they're doing it here. People from around the world are coming here to go to school. You only have to look at the international students that come here to get their education. Some stay, some go home. But in any one of a number of unbelievable fields, whether it's in engineering right through to the nuclear industry. And if you look over at the lands between the old, between Tosca on the corner of Thornton, and you go over to the Thixon where the campus is, all those lands have now been set up to become the next large educational spot. It's called DLAB. It's an amazing story, where you will find a road will lead and connect from the car dealership, the Chrysler dealership, all the way over to Thornton Road, and it'll be interconnected, and you'll find an entire new campus there. And that project is talked about, and you hear about it a little bit, but when you hear about DLAB in the future, it'll take the college to a new level. So if you've been to the college, over to the new culinary school, and you've had the opportunity to try the food that the students not only learn how to grow in the field, prepare it, get it to the table and serve it, and then learn how to dispose of what's left, wait till you find out that Durham College is going to start a brewmaster program for microbreweries. It's become such a core industry in Ontario that they realize that there's an opportunity here to train young people in that field, and that's part of the DLAB campus on one end, and on the other end, it'll be about Trent University and what they do. This year is an exciting year in Oshawa. You've heard of a couple things, mostly the Pan Am Games, about weightlifting and boxing coming to Oshawa, which is unbelievable. Two of the biggest events coming to the General Motors Center. But did you know we won the Special Olympics for schools? That's a really exciting story, that they decided to come to Oshawa because the civic fields, now named Terry Kelly Fields, exceeds their needs. And Oshawa is becoming a place that has so much sports and entertainment going on that the driving of the hotels has been key. And the city's going to be very much different than it was a few years ago. We've got some challenges in the province, and the mayors of Southern Ontario have come together in a couple different groups. And we've organized ourselves into really 4 issues. The major issue for us right now is transportation and what's happening on the 401. And it's not just affecting the city of Oshawa. It affects Port Hope, Cobourg, the city of Kawartha Lakes, Lindsay, Peterborough. Everybody flowing into the city of Toronto in the mornings, Oshawa acts as that funnel. The same way the 400 series highway acts as the other funnel, and the St. Catharines to Toronto acts as the other funnel. And the problem we have is everybody's concerned about transportation in downtown Toronto, but they forget that it's the cars from the 905 that are causing most of the chaos in downtown Toronto. So if they would fix and deal with GO, there wouldn't be as many problems as we have. So how many of you have heard the announcement of GO at least 6 times about Nob Hill Farms? That there's always been this plan to come to Nob Hill Farms and build a train station. Well, I'm really proud to tell you that Metrolinx bought Nob Hill Farms. That's a really good story. But there is no plan to bring the train to the Nob Hill Farms property. So they bought the land. They know what they want to do. And part of the DLAB project is to get the train from the south side of the tracks, either over or under the 401, to the new GO station that will be built over on the DLAB property on the corner of Thornton and Champlain, in behind a little bit. That would lead to the train station in downtown Oshawa, that would eventually get out to Clarington, where the new train servicing depot is supposed to be. Now, they talk about it. I'm tired of going to the meetings. But all the mayors of the GTHA talk about the same thing, because that problem is not just Oshawa's problems. That problem is an Oakville problem. That problem is a Barrie problem. So we've gotten together as a group to have one voice at the province. So when we go down, at least the Premier will listen to us. A single mayor in any community, the Premier really could care less. But when you have 22 mayors representing 7 million people coming to the table, the Premier actually shows up for the meetings. And 2 weeks ago, we had 2 hours with the Premier to talk about the issue of transportation and the movement of goods and people in this province, because it is our economy that is suffering. The Toronto Board of Trade talks about the 401 this way. They lose $6 billion a year on lost time on the 401 series of highways around Toronto. Now, if you had a problem where you're losing that much money each year and lost productivity in business, we would find a way to resolve that problem and make it work for us. So we're all talking in the same page, except maybe the City of Toronto, who thinks that their problem is purpose-built downtown, and they really forget that it's the regions around Toronto, including the region of Durham, that generates electricity and feeds the City of Toronto. So we're working as a group to deal with that. And we're also working as a group of mayors, specific mayors to communities that just deal with automotive. It doesn't matter whether you're the mayor of Oakville or you're the mayor of Oshawa or the mayor of St. Catharines. The automotive industry is key to the province of Ontario. The apple in any community is the car. But the real tree is the auto workers, the retirees, and the parts manufacturers. And in Oshawa right now, we employ just a little less than 4,000 General Motors employees in the plant. But those jobs spin off into all the subtrades and all the parts suppliers that are out there that drive the economy. And it's about the entire tree. So when the mayors got together and sat down with their premier a little while ago, we asked her to think of a provincial auto strategy that they could get behind to say that automobile manufacturing is key to the economy of this province. You know, when you look at the Durham region, we deliver about $19 billion to the economy of this country. And a big part of that is the auto industry. So we now have met as a group, and when we meet there again, because we represent so many people and it's one issue, the Premier tends to meet with us. We have the challenges of trying to continue to build our economy with the high price of electricity, and we continually remind the Premier that the cost of electricity compared to other marketplaces in North America is too high. And as we continue to go forward, we're working hard to keep the public as informed as possible about what's going on with General Motors. And we've met with the new president, Stephen Carlisle, who is an amazing gentleman because he's a Canadian president of General Motors, which hasn't happened in a long time. But more importantly, he worked in the plant here in Oshawa. And that he's got ties to this community, that his wife was born here, and he understands how important the car community is to the region of Durham, not just Oshawa. The people that work in the car business, and whether you agree with the subsidies or not, it's not just about that apple. It's about the volunteer fireman that works in Burkton because his job as an auto worker allows him to do that. It's about the soccer coaches and the hockey coaches and the leaders in their communities and the gentlemen who take time to be scout leaders and invest time in young people in our communities. And the auto worker, the job in General Motors allowed the auto workers to do that. And it's important that we remember that the car industry is part of our Canadian culture, and that you as taxpayers in the city of Oshawa actually fund part of Parkwood. Even though it's a National Historic Park site, the residents of Oshawa contribute to the maintenance of that site because the Government of Canada doesn't. I'm really proud to be the son of an auto worker and to say that my dad and my brothers worked in the plant and that I had the privilege to work there as a contractor when I was younger. But General Motors is a big part. And that's a part of our economy, but I want to talk about the other parts that you don't know about. You know we're home to the newest food processing plant in North America? That Del Monte's first adventure outside of the United States is in the city of Oshawa. And I'm really proud to say that you are home to a new banana ripening facility and a food prep plant, which is really important because it changes our economy. It diversifies us that much more. And when you look at some of the other companies that have moved to this community that have been here for a while, like Cleve Technologies, that deals in military-grade wiring harnesses, or Optech, the world's leader in digital 3D mapping, color mapping, does the installations on their airplanes at the Oshawa Airport. Or that we're home to Inuit Air that does the medevac service for Northern Canada from coast to coast out of the Oshawa Airport. And if you live around the airport, in the middle of the night, you might hear the odd jet take off for about 8 seconds. But when that jet takes off, you need to know that it's making a difference in the lives of somebody's family, whether it's in Halifax or Calgary, that there's either an organ or a surgeon going someplace, and it's happening here from the Oshawa Airport. And that makes me incredibly proud. Now, we've got a lot of great things happening around the region, and it's not just good news stories in Oshawa. We have a little bit more just because of what's happening. In fact, one of the stories that you haven't heard is the old fittings property. The largest brownfield site left in the city of Oshawa, 28 acres, has been sold to the Medallion Corporation. Now, you might not have heard of who Medallion is, but you know what they're doing, because in Ajax, at the corner of Bailey and Harwood, there is, on the southeast corner, there's a new